Welcome back to the Birdies and Bourbon Show. This is going to be a treat today. It's two of my favorite things in life, if you will. Bourbon and golf, shocking. Whiskey and golf, either way you want to look at it. And it's one of my favorite brands in both whiskey and golf. Happy to be joined by VP of Sales for Sweetens Cove Spirits, Bill Eason. Bill, how you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad you're here.
Yeah, sneaking a sip there. So
big sip.
big sip. That's what Marianne says anyway. So we're going to peel back the we're going to get in the barrel and talk a little about Sweetens Cove Spirits. I'm sure we're going to talk a little golf. May get into a little tournament that's happening in Ponte Vedra Beach this weekend. But before we do, Bill, how'd you wind up at Sweetens Cove Spirits?
So I've kind of worked in the, for those of you who don't, I'll go into a little bit of detail, but anyway, so the bars and restaurant world is known as the on-premise for obvious reasons in our industry. And I'd come up through the on-premise. I'd owned a couple of restaurants and bars. And so had some experience in that way, and then ended up moving to Connecticut to reconnect with the lady who was now my wife, and took a job with the distributor up there, and then really got deep dive into some of the off-premise, so retailer side of things, and really kind of learned that business inside and out, and moved back to Nashville, which is my hometown and where I currently reside, and was working for a supplier on the gin side of things, and they did some white whiskey, so some shine, and got a call from a guy named Greg Nazer, who's a big wig at Libman Brothers here in Nashville. Phenomenal guy, phenomenal company, and happens to be our distributor for Sweetens Cove in most of the state of Tennessee, at least in the central and eastern part of Tennessee. And he said, I got a really interesting opportunity for you. Let me know if it's something you think you might want to talk about. So I called him back and said, what you got? And he said, are you familiar with Sweetens Cove? I said, of course I am. And he said, they're looking for a regional kind of guy to come in and manage Tennessee and grow. And at that point, we really only had Texas and Georgia and Tennessee, with Tennessee and Georgia being the first two markets that were launched back in 2020 before I was even with the company. And so I came on in kind of a southeastern regional role, and we just started going. And, our founder, Mark Rivers, and our GM, Jared Poe, had done a really good job on getting us, getting the hoopla and the mystique out there, and really getting people excited about the brand. Obviously, with the celebrity ties with Peyton and Andy Roddick and, Drew Holcomb and those guys, it really kind of had an allure to it. So I was excited to get on board. We grew quick, so we immediately started rolling out into Indiana was a natural for us with regard to Peyton's kind of, iconic status there. Colorado was the same way, so we went into Colorado. Then Kennessee, then Kentucky. Kentucky was a big one for us, and the good folks in Kentucky always look at Tennessee and anybody doing bourbons out of Tennessee without a kind of side eye us a little bit, but. Our distributors up there were super nice and gave us a shot. We overproduced, and they were really happy and complimentary about that. And we've just continued to roll out. We're now just this year we've opened 7 new markets since January 1st. So my team and I are going hard. We're now in 16 markets, including some online markets that you could get us in, being New York, Jersey, and so we're just going hard, and it's we're growing at a nice steady clip. We've got a lot of good things going on with the brand, and I think we're probably done growing for this year. But I mean, we've just added Florida, which is a monster market. We've just added Arizona, another really nice market, and then we're launching California April 1st. So that's a monster one for us, and we're all just kind of as ownership likes to say, we're all drinking from a fire hose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, straight from the bottle, if you will, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I got a lot of questions. Some of this stuff you've probably been asked dozens of times, and some of it you're probably not going to answer. By the way, so the first question is, when am I going to see you at Sweetens next time? When's the next time I'll see you there?
That's a really good question. It depends on when Matt will allow me to come back. You know, I mean, Adamski checks in with me all the time, but he doesn't, unless he needs me to come pour liquor at something. I don't run. He never calls me and just says, "Hey, do you want to come swing the club?" It's always like, "Hey, can you bring a bottle with you? Do you have a sample bottle with anything that we can try or taste or whatever?" But no, all kidding aside, I mean, Matt's fantastic to me. He's a great asset for the brand. The course obviously is everything, and the tradition for the, you know, there wouldn't be a brand without that great course. And, you know, I think we all have a pretty special place in our heart. Yeah, course holds a special place in our hearts,
Sure.
and me included. So, you know, I think last time I saw you was Ugly Sweater.
Woo,
And
boy.
that
Hey.
got ugly early, man. I mean, I actually did not partake because I had meetings in Chattanooga, so I couldn't partake. But I think this was the first time we had the 2022 kicking, and we were showing everybody how the top comes off and is a ball mark. And all credit to our GM Jared Poe for that little nugget, because he does all of our packaging. And for those of you who don't know, the our bar topper, which is what that piece is called, on this year is the first year it pops off and becomes a commemorative ball mark. And so that's going to theoretically change every year. I'm not tipping my hat because honestly, this is not something that is in the works. But, you know, let's just say next year's release was finished in a Cabernet cask. Then maybe that coin would be kind of a burgundy color, and then have a different message or something like that. And then, it's going to change every year, probably with color and scope. But that's kind of, somebody recently told me on another podcast, they were like, "Hey, this is like your Blanton's horse, but kind of cooler, especially for the golf folks." So we're excited about it. It was clever. We talked about, wouldn't this, on the earlier releases before it popped off, we were like, wouldn't this be cool if it popped off? And tip of the hat to Jared. He was able to make that happen. And I think it's going to be a nice little, kind of cool component of our annual releases moving forward.
Well, lots of unique things about just the brand Sweetens Cove in itself, right? And yeah, I mean, I think absolutely that is that's a great addition, if you will. It doesn't, what's in the bottles, what's most important.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I will tell you, once I realized that came off, I did go to the other bottles, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? These won't come off.
Yeah. No, they do not come off. This is the first one. And so that's going to be on our, our annual release. It'll be that one, basically the $200 bottle every year. That'll be a component of that moving forward.
Yeah. So let's back up it. So 2020, you guys did the first release of Sweetens Cove was 13,500 bottles ish, right? Give or take. Only in Tennessee and Georgia, I believe, as it was released.
Yeah, it was, and there was 5 batches, so there was different batches that Marianne did, and they all had a little bit of different proof on them, and so that was one of the unique aspects. And that was before my time, but there was a little variation in proof. Sometimes the variation proof was pretty substantial to the taste and the profile. They were all amazing, and again, tip of the hat to Marianne. She's true rock star in our world, and does great things for us and blends these wonderful releases for us. And so that was 2020 was a good one. It just really got us on the map. A lot of people were excited about the brand, and really just kind of launched us to where we are today.
Yeah. So again, it's Tennessee whiskey, right? Is the flagship, if you will.
Correct. Yeah. We've moved to calling that a specialty release because it's a once a year kind of deal. It'll always come out in OND in time for the holidays. This year it made it out a little bit later for a variety of reasons. Nobody's fault, just kind of reality. But our goal is to have it on the shelves no later than October 1st every year. So it's really rocking and rolling during bourbon season. And for OND, for those of you who don't know, it's in the industry what we call October, November, December, but that's really our prime holiday selling. So we always look to get it primed and teed up, pun intended, for OND.
Yeah. So and the again, it's kind of the staples or signature releases, the annual releases, right? I mean, their price point, give or take, around $200, right? And
we're always going to look to keep it around there. I mean, we've actually had some distributors who are like, you guys are selling plenty of this. Why don't you walk it up a little bit? But,
Yeah.
I mean, we think we're positioned well. Trust me, I get enough feedback from people who are unhappy about the price just because it's a lot of money. But a lot of people, feel like it's justifiable. And, based on the amount of volume we sell, we do feel like it's warranted.
Yeah. How do you feel about the term celebrity brands or celebrity whiskeys? What do you think about it? I mean, because you mentioned Peyton Manning, Andy
Yeah.
Roddick, right? I mean, they're attached,
We're
attached to the brand.
we're chock full of them. But I mean, they're wonderful, kind of stewards of the brand. And the thing I think a lot of people think is, or may assume, is that we as a brand pay Peyton or Andy or somebody to kind of be a face of the brand. But these guys are like fundamental they're founders. These guys they've got skin in the game. They're in it for the long haul. And, I think I'm not big on bashing other people, but I think, you can usually tell who's really involved and they have their fingerprints on it versus somebody who's slapping their name on it. But again, there's a ton of them out there. And, back in 2021, Esquire magazine named Sweetens Cove the #1 celebrity on spirit in the world. And, we didn't really take it at the time as anything other than a testament to what's in the bottle. I mean, I'm not one to judge, but I don't know that Peyton's really a bigger celebrity than Clooney. I don't know that he's a bigger one than Ryan Reynolds, but we outranked him, or, Sweetens as a brand outranked him. So, like I said, I think it's a testament to what's in the bottle. I know that people typically understand now that in the 3 releases on our specialty release, as you called it, the flagship, we, for the listeners, our $200 bottle sake, we've gotten phenomenal scores, great reviews, won some awards, and I feel like, it's a credibility play for us, and a lot of people have really enjoyed what we've, put out there.
Yeah. So kind of two-party question coming back at you. So one, is there, well, let's talk about Kennesse. I won't go there yet. Let's go. So we've got, we've got the special release, right? That's coming out in O&D. And then 2022, Sweetens decided to, I'm gonna use some terminology. You can clean it up for me. You can clean it up for me. But Sweetens came out with I would say a more budget friendly daily drinker, right? I don't know about everybody else that's listening. I don't typically daily drink a $200 bottle. I don't do that yet. Podcast isn't doing that good.
Well, I've met a couple of people who do, but you're spot on. I mean, the SRP on this is $59.99. It's a blend of Kentucky and Tennessee bourbons, coming in at a nice little, as I like to call it, a beautiful, smooth 110.7 proof. Again, blended by the lovely Marianne Eaves, and it's done very, very well for us. So we released it April 1st, 2022. There was about just shy of 7,200 cases that were released, because as a source bourbon, it's getting harder and harder to find great product that you can, bottle and release, or in our case, blend and release. Sure. And a lot of times blending it makes it harder. Some people think it's easier, but sometimes it makes it a little harder. And again, kudos to Marianne. But on Kennesse, we sold out of our stocks of it in about 130 days. It went quick. Now, the distributors where we had it, what markets we were in at the time, they had to get it out and let people kind of realize what it was, and that, what we were doing. And you nailed it on the head. I mean, we call it, a much more approachable, it's with the price point that it's at. It's less than a third of the price of our specialty release. So it's, daily drinker is one of my favorite terms, because again, Old Forester 1920 was a daily drinker for me. Bellmead Bourbon Reserve, a daily drinker for me. Those are brands I really hold a lot of respect for, and I really, I can crush those if I need to. And Kennesse's the same thing. Around the same price point, those two brands had walked themselves up to the mid-60s now. And those guys know what they're doing, so I will let them keep walking their price up, because it makes us look a little bit better. But Yeah, we're at $59.99, depending on, where you buy your
Right.
bourbons. You may get it at $52.99, $55.99. But yeah, $59.99 is the core SRP for this brand. And I absolutely love it. We've gotten some great press on it. Whiskey Advocate back in December gave us the ultimate compliment, named it the number 11 most exciting whiskey brand in the world. And you get your head around that for us. I mean, people in the business, that might be a little bit of an eye roll, like, oh, you paid for it. Trust me, 100% organic. We didn't
Right.
pay for it. They gave us a score of, I believe, a 93. And they had seen what it was doing, and we were getting a lot of great press and a lot of great write-ups. And again, it's coming in at 110.7. I rarely go into talking to consumers or the trade or, retailers and talk about the proof up front. And I usually ask people, I'm like, what do you think that proof is? And they're always like, low 90s. I mean, Marianne just crushes it, man. I mean, everything we do is in a cask strength proof profile, but with a blended, it's technically not cask strength, but no, everything we do is in that, the 2022 release, 114 proof.
Yeah.
Kennesse 110.7. Our 2021 release was 113.7. And then, like I said, the 2020 was everywhere from 99 up to, I think, 103.5 or something like that. But yeah, so everything we do is by definition typically overproof, but it's, Kennessee's got a special place in my heart.
Kennesse definitely doesn't drink like a
No.
110er. That's
Nowhere
for sure,
near it.
man. It's
No,
it's
uh-uh.
I mean, it's got a lot of kind of that the maple, the syrupy. There's kind of a peanut buttery thing coming, like peanut brittle coming in there. This it's good, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
real
I mean,
good. Yeah.
one of the things I like about it also is it holds up really, really well in cocktails. And I'm not a big bourbon or whiskey cocktail guy. I typically go with a rock or two, but we do some great cocktails. A lot of on-premise accounts for obviously is a nod to Peyton doing Omaha Old Fashioned. And so it's, we're seeing that pop up on cocktail lists all over the United States, which we're happy to, for them to keep doing that.
Sure.
And then we're doing some barrel aged cocktails. So we supply a lot of on-premise accounts, bars and restaurants, that is, with 5-liter barrels, and then they're doing their own barrel aged Kennesse cocktails. So we're seeing a lot of the Omaha Old Fashions, or whatever they want to call it, a lot of barrel aged Manhattan as well. So it stands up really, really well in cocktails. So yeah, it's doing really, really well. It's performing really, really well right now with bars and restaurants. And the thing about that whole Whiskey Advocate nod really is that it's a credibility play for us in a lot of way, because I talk to a lot of national accounts through our distributors, and these regional, national, and for those of you, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but like a national account would be California Pizza Kitchen, O'Charlie's, Logan Steak, Roadhouse, those guys.
Right.
But even there's regional, national, but I mean, those guys are usually pretty picky as to what they're going to put on their bourbon, because they only have so much space, shelf space these days.
Mm-hmm.
So the Whiskey Advocate knob was really kind of a credibility play for us, and kind of pushed us off the fence for a lot of people. So we're starting to engage in a lot more conversations with the trade about putting people, people putting us not only on their back bars, but in cocktails. And it's really important to a brand to get on a cocktail list, because it's a leverage play for us, and you just get so much traction, because so many people just pick up a bourbon list and look and get overwhelmed, and then they look at a cocktail list and go, oh, I like an old fashioned, or I like a Manhattan, and
Sure.
they're going to drink whatever's in it, because most bars and restaurants go ahead and dictate what they're going to put in that drink. So if you can get on a cocktail and we can get a Kennesse cocktail going, now we're cooking, and that's where we really want to be. And that's really where we're going for 2022, because we've significantly increased our inventories for distribution with these new markets. So we've tripled our capacity of inventory for this year. So it's everything we're doing is a push of volume right now. And now that we've opened these new markets, obviously California, a massive new market for us, and we're getting into really, really big volume plays at this point. So yeah, we're excited about it. All the markets we've already been in will have plenty of opportunity to buy as much as they need. But we are, launching Florida, launching Arizona, launching Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. It's significant volume plays for us. So we're excited.
It's great to hear. Yeah, the success and the footprint expanding. Right, to your point about national accounts. Right, I mean, you're probably. I mean, there's probably some regionality plays that come in there. But again, if I go into a Seasons 52 in Atlanta and this is what I like and this is what I want to be able to go to a Seasons 52 in California and get what I like and what I want. So definitely resonates there. So we've got some finishes, right? So we've got Kennesse that's finished in the sugar maple wood. We've got the 22 release that is finished in Speyside Scotch casks. Yeah. And and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the first two or the only two that are finished product, or was the other stuff finished?
No, the other two were not finished. So we've really, in 2022 was our first foray into really doing cask finishing. Excuse me, Kennessee's not cask finished. Kennesse is finished with Tennessee sugar maker spirals. Yeah. So Marianne, I was not a part of that process, so because obviously we're in capable hands. So she did these spirals that were finished in the blending tank, and so that's where that little just hint of maple comes. And man, it's beautiful. And as I always tell people, you're not going to put it on your waffles or your pancakes, but it's a really nice little hint of maple on the finish, and it's a beautiful thing. The cool thing about the 2022 specialty with those Speyside cask was that Speyside does not impart peat or smoke.
Yep.
And so it imparts fruit. And that bourbon for me was really an eye-opener, because I tasted the original Marianne blend, which was great, and then obviously tasted after it had been finished. And it was finished for a short amount of time. She never really told me. I'm guessing a couple of weeks. But on that one, you get a little hint of Scotch on the front profile and on your nose. But then, to me, it immediately turns into a beautiful bourbon finish of what I get is baked apple, cinnamon, clove, baking spices, things like that. And I mean, again, you would only want to have this straight up or with a cube or something like that, because it's so well done. It's so well balanced, long finish. Great with the cigar, just really cool. And I think a lot of people, I've got some friends who are Scotch drinkers who they appreciate bourbon for what it is, but they were very intrigued by this and were like, okay, I can drink this. This is so a lot of folks, a gateway bourbon for them.
It absolutely, yeah. I was heading there, right? A lot of folks are like, bourbon sometimes is a little too sweet for me, right? It starts sweet, it tastes sweet, it finishes sweet, and this has definitely got not a peated taste, to your point, but it's almost a kind of a rich, leathery. There's a lot of oak coming out into this to me, so this is it's good. I love it, man. And do you think the finished product, is that going to be a staple? I mean, obviously Kennesse is going to be a staple, and it's finished. But do you think are you going future releases? And I know you're not going to disclose the releases, but what do you think the vision is there, and how that happens?
It's a Marianne call. I mean, she really kind of walks through that with Mark and ownership about what she wants to do and how she wants to go about doing it, and discusses it with Jared. Typically I come in on the after side of that, and I get a taste, and then they say go sell it, which is I'm happy to do. I would think that we will probably see finished releases on the specialty in the future, but it really comes down to what Marianne can get her hands on. And, I mean, one of the common things that kind of has been through all three releases is they all kind of have that kind of baking spice kind of note to them. And that's and I've never had that conversation with Marianne before, but it seems like a signature kind of hook for her. And it plays very, very well, because it really holds up really well. And, it's not syrupy sweet. It's not too sweet. It's got, the thing I always love about our $200 bottles is they all have like that proper Tennessee whiskey bite to them. And, by definition, they're still bourbons, but, with the 2022 release, finishing it was really a nice elevated touch. And I thought really did a nice kind of job of showing what Marianne and, the Sweetens Cove brand is capable of doing. And, we're going to, I would think in the next year or two, you're going to start seeing some other releases from us that will probably be very intriguing and kind of round out the family of bourbons and stuff like that. So more to come there. But I don't know what Marianne's got up her sleeve for the 2023 release. I just know it's going to be great. I mean, it's hard to tell you how, comfortable and how confident it is for me to be able to go out knowing that I'm not trying to go out and shill gasoline or something because somebody didn't do their job, or we had somebody who thought they were a master blender who was like, well, we got some barrels and I thought we just blend them. I mean, it's truly an art form, and I'm in awe of what Marianne does and what she brings to the table.
Yeah. Is there any conversation around actual production? And it may be way down the road, and maybe there's not, right? Maybe the intent and it's just an undertaking that nobody's interested in. But
yeah, I think at this point, from what I've gathered in conversations I've had is that, I think we will remain a sourced product. But I mean, I know that this is in the trade. It's no big secret that, we've had, people invest in us to help us lay down some barrels and stuff like that. But, we don't have stills that we're running anywhere and laying down our own barrels. So, we're just, financially, it makes more sense to, buy some barrels that are sourced on the front end and age them ourselves and then save some money, because it really allows us to have better margin on Kennesse and other things moving forward. But no, I don't think you're going to see a still or a distillery popping up on some beautiful horse estate in southern Tennessee. But you never know with this group. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. Every day you stick around long enough with this company, every day there's something new coming down the pike, and that keeps my job a lot of fun.
Well, Dan, I tried to ask indirectly, like, where's it from, and what I got was source. So we'll take it at source and leave it at that.
Doing a great job at it, though. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I get that. I get asked that question every day, and I mean, it's nothing we shy away from. I mean, I can reel off some bourbons that you guys probably have on the shelves behind you that are sourced from like MGP over the last couple of years that are fantastic. I mean, I've had some Mattingly bourbons over the last couple of years, like store picks. I mean, my wife gets bent out of shape with me because every time I go out on the road, which is every single week, I go into a store and they've got a new something barrel pick, and I go, can I try it? And they're like, yeah, we got a bottle behind us, back here. And I try it and I'm like, oh my gosh. But I mean, Imbibe down in Chattanooga had a barrel pick of one of the Mattinglys, and it was like 114 proof, and they called it something like the State Fair. And I mean, it tasted like cotton candy, and it was amazing. And it was all MGP. I mean, I think when, 10 years ago, even like 5 years ago, source was really, if you were a source product, you were vilified. Yeah. And I think now people have come to realize great bourbon's great bourbon. I don't care really where it comes from. And if it comes from Indiana, great. If it comes from Kentucky, great. If it comes from the great state of Tennessee, great. So I'm just excited when there's, really great bourbons, because I mean, I've tasted and I've sold some bourbons in my distributor days that were not great. And it's hard to go into the straight face and go, hey, you want to buy this? And people go, are you joking?
Yeah. When you leave and they taste it and they're like, what the hell are we doing here? Right. So
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Incredibly. Okay. So I know you got other things to do today, so I don't want to, I want to be conscious of your time. And I want to talk about some fun stuff. But before we do, you want to drop, where do we find Sweetens Cove whiskeys at? What do we need to be on the lookout for, et cetera?
Yeah. So, currently we have distribution in Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Colorado, Arizona, California coming April 1st. Feels like I left somebody out over in the Midwest, but I really don't think I did. And then for those of you who don't live in any of those states, check out our bourbons on DeWineSpot.com out of New York, Sealbox, Bourbon Outfitters. All those guys have been great partners for us on online sales, and they are really great, great tools for getting some bourbons that we don't currently have distribution on in certain markets.
And I don't know if you're public or not on social. I know we're friends on there. Are you public or private?
Me personally,
Yeah.
or the brand?
You.
Oh no, I'm private, but
Okay.
I mean,
Yep.
make a request. Only reason I'm private is just because I just started getting hit with like junk sales stuff all the time,
Sure.
and it was getting, as everybody does. But
he accepted me, so you're if you request it, he'll probably say yes.
Yes, I will. And then we're Sweetens Cove Spirits is where we're at, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, and come check us out there, and then obviously the golf course. You guys know where to find Mr. Adamski, Colt, and the wonderful John over at Sweetens Cove Golf Club.
Indeed, and Finn included. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back up there as soon. I'll tell you this: as soon as it dries out. So fair warning, I'm on my way, boys. Get ready. Get ready.
There you go.
All right, so let's talk a little golf, man. We've so friend of the brand, one Keith Mitchell.
Yeah,
he's been on a bit of a heater as of late. Had a great West Coast swing. He'll be showing up at Ponte Vedra this week at the Players Championship. I think you mentioned it earlier. I think before we went on, what is he coming in at, like plus 5,500 or something like
plus
that?
55. Cashmere Keith plus 5,500 at Ponte Vedra. I mean, that could be $100 well spent on the man. I mean, come on.
I've already bet it before you even mentioned it. I already bet it. I think it's good course history. I like it there. I think.
I mean, Rom's Rom, and he's on a heater extreme right now. So I mean, it's hard to think, you don't want to lay something on that guy. But I don't know. Rory last week never felt like he got it together, and he might be a little cold. And then Scheffler, great golfer, and who knows where, week to week, Spieth was there and then faded late. And, I personally like Max Homa, and, I think Spieth and Homa are in at like 2,200. So there's some money to be made if you string it out and spread out the wealth a little bit. There's some money to be made.
Well, Homa could be a little worried. I don't know if you listened to our recap of the API, but Ricky Fowler got a lot of attention at the API. So I hear there was a little shift in the pip points there from Ricky to Max. I don't know. We'll see. Allegedly. I don't know that to be a fact.
I like Cashmere Keith this week. That's my call. I may regret it, but like I said, I think he's going to stay, looking good and swinging good.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think it's on the cusp. He's got a couple of like T6s or better out in California. So yeah, I think that's a great play. What's your favorite tournament on tour? I mean, you're a fan. I love your vest, by the way. Is that new or is that
no, this is an old one. This is an old one. Yeah. I get it literally on every Zoom I'm on with sales teams all over across America. They're like, "Can you send me one of those?" And I'm like,
don't exist anymore.
Well, no, they don't exist anymore is my excuse, because and thankfully most of them don't go, well, there's got to be a new one you can send me. And I'm like, Sweetens Cove Golf Club, shop the shed. You'll find one for yourself there, because they are deservedly pricey, because they're very well made and quite comfortable. But my favorite tournaments, I mean, I love the Phoenix Open just because it is what it is, and it's bedlam and pandemonium. I was out there because we launched Arizona February 1st, so I was up there right before that. And when you drive around Scottsdale and you see the monstrosity that's going on, and then this year coupled with the Super Bowl and then Barrett Jackson, which people don't even think about Barrett Jackson, but that's going on. That's going on for like 9 or 10 days all around the Phoenix Open, and Scottsdale was hopping. But I'm a traditionalist. I will shut it down if I can for the Masters. It's just special, and I like it, and it, brings out the pure in everybody, that whole thing. So it's cool, and I haven't been yet, and I'm waiting for somebody to give me an invite, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's a must visit. By the way, it's
no
one of
doubt.
those things you gotta figure out. Yeah, I mean, you get it on the shelf.
I mean, we're on the shelf at Whitehorse, right across the street, one of the best liquor stores in America. So yeah, I mean, if I could get those guys to give me a ticket, that'd be great.
Right?
Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, for sure. So did you play TPC Scottsdale where you're out there, by the way? Did you get a chance to play?
No, they were on lockdown. They were setting up, and but it looked, I mean, the little gaps that you could see while driving by, you could see good gracious, that course was in such good condition, looks so beautiful. And then I came home to Tennessee. It's massive. And then I came home to Nashville, and everything was brown and wet.
Yeah, well, not for long. Not for long.
No.
Seasons are changing.
Yeah, we're in that time.
Do you play anywhere out of Nashville that you can make mention of?
I play Sweetens Cove. I mean, why would I not want to make mention? That's outside of Nashville.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. Yeah.
No, I play all around Nashville. I don't. Unfortunately, we're so busy with growing these brands right now that, I mean, even last weekend I was coming back from California, so I didn't have any time to swing them. I had a little foot surgery back in November and haven't swung it much, but we're getting to that time. So my game had just gotten pretty decent for me, and then I had foot surgery, and I swung it a couple weeks ago, and it was a nightmare. So I'm gonna have to get it all geared back up, but I'm excited to, and I'm excited to get back down to the course this year sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as we all are, and definitely looking forward to it. So you said you weren't much of a cocktail guy, and we've talked a lot of sweetens.
Yeah.
So this is, and you mentioned 1920 earlier, but if you're not drinking sweetens, what's your go-to?
So I am a big fan of 1920. I drank probably more than I care to talk about of New Riff single barrels during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had a wife who was miserable about the pandemic, and I had a daughter in college and a daughter in high school who were miserable because they were stuck at home with their parents. And I drank a little too much New Riff single barrel while that was going on. But I like what those guys are doing. I like where they've come from, where they're going. Their experimental stuff has been interesting. But I'll drink dang near anything if it makes sense. I don't chase the super, super high dollar things, because I think there's so much good stuff down there. I made mention of that Mattingly barrel pick. There's some really nice Maker's Expressions out there. Russell's Reserves, when you can find it. The 13's a wonderful little, it's a nice little drinker. The Bellamy Bourbon Boys and their reserve. I liked it better when it was before they reduced the proof. It used to be up at like 114, and they took it down to 108.3. Guessing they're trying to stretch some of their product out, which I understand and appreciate, but I preferred it a little bit more to higher proof. The Chattanooga guys are doing some experimental things, which are interesting. I like what they're doing. There's so much really good bourbons and whiskeys out there right now that we're really fortunate in the times that we're living, that there's so much out there, and there's going to be a ton more coming online here in the next couple of years, because it's no big secret, Kentucky's got over 9 million barrels aging right now. And, it's going to drive some prices down, which I think the consumer will really dig. And, not everybody's going to, drive their prices down. Some guys are going to hold margin, and retailers are going to want to hold margin. But, I think some guys will come in, and I think we'll see some new entrants, and some people like that will come in and maybe do some interesting things. But, I think there's just so much good stuff out there, sourced or otherwise. I mean, I tried some Redwood Empire when I was out in California. I I drank. California had a lot of just stuff that everybody east of the Mississippi's kind of tapped out of on the allocated stuff. So I had some Colonel, I had some Stag Junior, I had some Weller 12, I had some Weller Full Proof, and just a lot of stuff that you just don't get east of the Mississippi because it dries up so fast. But there's just, and I'm appreciative. Jack Daniels, those guys have finally started doing some cool kind of individual kind of pushing the envelope for those guys and not just resting on their laurels, which I'm appreciative of. Clearly Coy Hills caught a lot of people's attention with not only the price, but the quality and things like that. And as a proud Tennessean, I want them to succeed and do well. But there's so much good stuff out there that it's just like, where do you stop? And I mean, Green River, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the years as some of their stuff that they've laid down gets older. I'm trusting that they're in good hands with Bardstown since they bought them. And it'll be interesting to see, kind of where they grow and some of these other, younger guys and younger brands that are coming up. And there's still people reviving old things, some of which I think I'm kind of like, really? And some of it I'm like, that's kind of cool. And, Chicken Cocks put out a couple of interesting things. Yep. They've gone bonkers with some of their prices. I think $500 for a bottle of whiskey is kind of makes my eyes water. But hey, if people love it and they want to pay for it, go get it and do it. And Heaven's Door's done some cool things with some of their special releases. It'll be interesting to see what Fawn and the people do with Uncle Nearest, and hopefully they've got some interesting things coming down the pike. So it's exciting times. I mean, I'm hyper focused on what we do. But I'm going to probably, after my next couple of Zooms and darkness falls, figure out what I'm going to drink tonight. And I'm going to branch out a little bit, but I don't know what it's going to be. I'm a drinker. I'm not really a collector. So I don't have a massive collection. You guys would probably be shocked to see my bourbon shelf right now. But there's not nearly what you guys have behind you guys on your shelf.
The only reason I'm not a collector either, and the only reason that I have all this shit behind me is because I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah,
we'll see who believes that. But that's only the beginning. No, really, I've got
allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, I've got a retail addiction, is what I have. And
I know it.
I can't walk past the bottle, man. I see it on the shelf, and I don't. If I'm walking by Evan Williams Bottle and Bond, like, I ain't picking it up. I've got two or three at the house, right? But if I'm walking by something that's like, oh shit, I haven't had that, or it's new, or I heard good things about it, I'm like, I'm not the kind that I want to go to the restaurant or bar and have a taste of it and see if I want it or not. I can already tell you that I'm going to drink it. But I just want the bottle.
How many bottles of Heaven's Hill Green Label 6-year-old do you have?
Probably about a case last year. I probably got maybe 10 left.
Banger. And for the money, I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, during the pandemic, I literally had like 2 cases of the 750s and a case of the plastic handles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was crushing that too. Cause I mean, it's just talk about a value play. My God, $13.49 for a 750 and $23.50 for a handle.
But that's isn't that out of production?
Yeah, you can't get it anymore. Yeah, so right. I mean, again, every time there's legends and folklore about, and for some reason, I don't know why it's always Kroger, but if I'm ever in Kentucky on business, it seems like somebody goes, oh, Kroger down the road just put out a case of Green Label, and everybody literally in earshot rips out of whatever building you're in and gets in their car and starts boogieing down to that Kroger to see if they've got one. But yeah, no, that was always, one of those like, oh, and I would literally send it to friends during the pandemic and be like, here's a little gift. And they'd be like, what is this? And they'd be like 10 minutes later, calling me back going,
how do I get more?
Where do I get cases upon cases of this?
That's right. You do not.
No.
Blind luck.
It's gone. But hopefully it's making it, hopefully those age stocks are making it into something good that we'll soon see. And maybe not as old as they're 27, but something, nice.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They will. So you said you're looking forward to picking the game back up or getting the game back into shape. Are you adding anything new to the bag this season?
No, because I did that big time last year. So I went completely overhauled the bag last year. So I was playing some very old TaylorMade bubble burners.
Ooh, there's yes.
Before I started working for Sweetens, and then my frequency of golf, at least for the short time, picked up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta overhaul. So I'm a TaylorMade guy. So I bought some. I went and got fitted for the first time on some TaylorMade, the P790s.
Okay.
And then I kept one of my old TaylorMade. I got a 60-degree wedge, an old one that I had that I just loved, and so I still play. That's in the bag. And then I got a new a putter, and the name just flew out of my head. Number one putter designer in the world, Tiger Place, Scotty Cameron. What's it called?
Could be a Newport.
It's a Newport 4, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm putting with. And like I said, the game's a disaster right now. So, but I've got my Sweetens Cove head covers, and keeping it real with.
Did you see the Ghost Tree release they just did?
I did, and it's the last thing I need to see is because then I just go down there and go. I guess I'm gonna have to buy a Ghost Tree driver cover. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'd just take a bottle down there with me, and for some reason the bottle isn't coming back with you, and a head cover is. That's the way I'd play that.
Yeah. Or you just go, "Hey, Colt, what's that over there?"
Right. Oh, log it. Dan, what you got for Bill, man?
Well, what are you most looking forward to in the next year here?
Oh my gosh, I'm really looking forward to seeing. We're toying around with some new products in our line that I think are going to be really cool. Again, as I alluded to earlier, without going into them, they're things that would kind of round out our family of whiskeys. So, got some cool things going on there. If we can get those, find the right kind of opportunities there, that would be great and exciting. Because we are in a business, and particularly in a category where every time I walk into a store, they go, "I love your $200 bottle. Tennessee's working for us. What do you got next?" And it's one of those things that I want to be able to give them like, "Hey, here's the next cool thing we're doing." But at the same time, we're not a company known for just rushing things out for the sake of rushing things out. So, I don't think you're going to see a bubblegum flavored bourbon from Sweetens Cove anytime soon.
Might be a good thing.
Yeah. But you can bank on whatever it is, and Marianne's going to be, have her signature and her fingerprints all over it, and it's going to be pretty special.
So, we talked about this earlier in terms of like celebrity bourbons, and you guys have got a great team. We know Marianne, we know the folks at the golf club and everything else. So what, coming into this is probably a little bit, unique for you with that type of business or whatnot. What's pleasantly kind of surprised you about how you guys are going to market with this?
Well, I mean, there's, as you can imagine, I mean, we don't have free reign with Peyton to go, I don't get to go pick up Peyton at an airport and take him to go see 15 stores with me on a day. Can you imagine how easy my job would be if that was the case? Although you could only probably get to 2 accounts because you people, signing autographs and stuff like that.
Yeah, we would change your title to chauffeur at that point. So.
Exactly. But, Peyton's incredible. I mean, again, I don't have that access to him, but there's no reason I would. He's got, he's got far more important things going on, but he's a wonderful steward of the brand, and he's great to me. And, I'll get on a weekly basis, something like that, especially if we open a new market, he might be like, "Hey, can you tell me what stores we're in a certain city?" And he's going, he doesn't allude to it, but it happens to be that he's going to play like in a pro-am or something like that. And he knows people are going to bang on him like, "Hey, I heard you got a whiskey. Where can I buy it?" And he wants to be able to, send them in the right direction. And, there's also cases where, Peyton will send me an email and he'll go, "Hey, Bill, meet so-and-so." And so-and-so might be a former pro football player, a celebrity, a combination thereof, some random friend of his or something like that who's looking to buy our bourbons. But again, I've had those phone calls with Peyton as well, where, he'll be like, "Hey, I want to introduce you to so-and-so. They own 15 restaurants in the Chicago area." And, and then I'm like, "Cool, I got it." And then that person and I go off on a separate thread, and like that, we have our bourbons in 15 different restaurants in Chicago. Sure. And that's distributors can claim that they have all the they're plugged in and doing the best job they can. You can't move product that fast. I mean, it's incredible, and it's wonderful and a blessing when he's able to help us out, and he does it all the time. Andy Roddick, big help. When you can get these guys to go in, and we don't do any public consumer facing bottle signings for obvious reasons. But when we can get these guys into a backroom signing at a Total Wine and More or a Specs down in Texas, or if we could get them into a Bevmo in California, and they can sign 50 bottles in about 10 minutes, take some photos, that account they love us, and they're going to put those bottles out. I think we did it with Specs summer before last with the 2021 release, and I think he was in Houston one day and in DFW the next, and he signed like 100 bottles. I mean, Peyton can crank the bottles out, autographing them with a metallic Sharpie, and he can crank them out, and he was doing like 100 bottles in like an hour and 10 minutes, and they put them out that afternoon, blasted on Twitter or Instagram, and every bottle sold. Within an hour. Yeah. And that's the way to do it if you can. So that's the blessing. But then you live by the celebrity, you die by the celebrity. And I don't really mean die. It can be problematic because, I mean, I've literally had people ask very big asks of Peyton and other people in our universe, and then when they just can't do it, and then the people hold it against you, and you're like, yeah, you got to understand, Peyton has a family, and just he's now done with his heavy football commitments, and the day after the Super Bowl, I can't get him to the Keys in Florida to come sign bottles at your tiny liquor store because you've brought in two cases of our $200 bottle. I mean, if he was going to be around and if he could be there, he would, because the guys, I mean, think about Peyton and everybody in our universe, our celebrities and the titans of industry that help us out, they're all incredibly nice, gracious people. And I mean, who you see on TV with Peyton is who you get. The guy's a dream. I mean, there's the nicest guy in the world. Cooper, hilarious, nice guy. Eli, great guy. Archie, I mean, on down the line, they're wonderful people. Andy Roddick, great dude. And I mean, it's a blessing. But again, we do live by it, die by it, because, if you can't get one of them somewhere for whatever reason, sometimes there is some resentment, and you're like, we're doing the best we can, but it doesn't always work out that way,
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing it right. What's in the bottle comes first, and then what you can layer on top, you can do. Absolutely.
Speaking of what's in the bottle, I got a question for Dan. And then, and then I got one more question for you, Bill, and it'll be a multi-parter. So don't worry, it won't be a yes or no. So Dan, we've tried Sweetens Cove Kennesse offering and Sweetens Cove 22 release, which is finished in the Space High cask. Which one did you like better today?
They're completely different, right? So the Kennesse, I'm with you. It didn't taste anywhere near as hot a proof as it was the 110.7 or whatever it was. They're just completely different. And then the other one is it's the, like you guys said, it's the gateway for Scotch lovers bourbon. I mean, I think they both have their purpose, and I think they're both awesome representations of what they're trying to achieve.
We get a lot of people who tell us they like Kennesse better than our $200 bottles, which again, I'm not a big enough bourbon snob. I'm kind of like, you like what you like. And I mean, I'm not going to criticize. If somebody likes Jim Beam Orange, they like Jim Beam Orange, and that's fine. Go drink it. Do what you got to drink. It's not my cup of tea, but go do what you got to do. But I mean, I think they're both fantastic. They're both, like you said, they're both, their own unique kind of deals. And again, there's not a lot of people out there drinking a $200 bottle as their daily drinker. So it's, we're obviously a big gifting thing. Obviously, Father's Day is a big holiday for us. Christmas, a massive opportunity for us at this price point. But I'm with you. I mean, they're two different beasts. And but when somebody tells me they like Kennesse more than one of our specialty offerings, I don't get too offended. I mean, it's, hey, I'm just glad you like one of them, and we appreciate your business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What about you, Cal? What about you? Which one do you like better?
Today, I like so I've been on a old fashioned kick as of late. And for me today, the Kennesse is I'm pouring that more than I'm pouring the 22. By the way, thanks. These were samples. I'll be honest, right? So there's no reason for me not to drink one more than the other. And however, what I will say is, I think the refreshing part about the 22 is, as if you've been drinking a lot of bourbon, and you've got kind of that sweet, it's like, it's kind of getting on me, it's sweet. And if you don't want to go to a cocktail, I think the 22 is a great way to go have a little palate refresher, if you will, if you want to kind of reset things, and you don't want to go total, Islay Scotch and go something crazier if that's just not in your wheelhouse. I mean, this is a good, it's a good refresher. And then when you come back to something like a Kennesse, it's I don't know, it makes you appreciate it if you like bourbon more. For me, that's for me.
No, I think that's fair across the board.
All right, this is it for me. So, so two parts. The Waffle House and Top of the Rock don't count. Those are just given if you're in South Pittsburgh. But so you're a Nashville native.
Yeah.
So where are you eating and or drinking in Nashville? And it doesn't have to be, we're not picking favorites necessarily. It's just what are you into right now? And then you're in a lot of markets, and you're in a lot of new markets. Where are you sending me if pick a state, pick a market, and where are you sending me?
So Nashville, I'm a Brick Tops fanatic, and Brick Tops, for those who don't know, is started by a guy named Joe Ledbetter. He started the Houston's restaurant group, and so there's a great backstory, and you can probably Google it to find out what happened to him with Houston/Hillstone, and then him starting Brick Tops. I'm a massive fan of that restaurant. We're really blessed/cursed right now, as there's so many restaurants. I saw a thing the other day. We've had 700 restaurants open in downtown Nashville alone in the last 7 years. So it's hard to get to everything. But, there's some mainstays. I'm a big barbecue junkie, and I love Martin's. I love Edley's. I even love Witt's in its own, regard and things like that. I'm not a big hot chicken guy, so I don't really care all that much about that. But let me tell you, moving on to the national thing, something I would tell you, if you're in Scottsdale, there's a restaurant called Culinary Dropout, and it's owned by the Fox Restaurant Group. And so a little tied in, Sam Fox, top-notch restaurateur. He is partners with Justin Timberlake on the 1230 Club here in Nashville. Really? And then they also have their tequila concept, Pushing Daisies, here in Nashville. But check out Culinary Dropout. They're also in Denver. I think they're in Dallas now. I think they're strangely, no offense to our friends in Huntsville, Alabama, they're opening one in Huntsville, Alabama before Nashville. Top notch, really, really, really well done menu. It's, upper tier. Their bourbon list is going to be Gentleman Jack, Woodford Reserve, out in Arizona. I believe they had Old Elk, Single Barrel. Those $60 bottles are kind of in their wheelhouse. They have really, really great draft beer. I think they have like 22 on tap, but their menus super refined, really nice, upscale, casual dining. They had a great burger. They had a great club sandwich. Some really inventive stuff. They've got sushi and things like that. So Culinary Dropout, it's killer. I urge anybody to go there. And then I was in Los Gatos last Friday night and had dinner at a place called Sidecar. It was killer. Great whiskey bar. They have it all, and great staff. And, the only bad thing about Los Gatos is it's in the dead center of all the tech stuff, and it's expensive.
Expense account, Bill. Expense account. Just saying.
No. I understand, but not everybody's traveling on that. Like I'm
understood. Understood. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to Los Gatos on vacation though. I would probably be there. You're probably not. Work wise too. So yeah.
But if anybody's in Los Gatos, if you're if you work in the Apple universe, you're going to Los Gatos for something. You may already live there. Yeah, you may already live there.
Yeah,
nice,
cool.
nice, great job,
Dan. That's what I got. What you got, bud?
No, that's it, man. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah, guys, thank you.
Great, yeah.
Bill Eason
Absolutely.
from Sweetens Cove Spirits. It's been a pleasure,
Yes, sir.
I'll look
You as
forward
well.
to seeing you in South Pittsburgh, man. Cheers.
Yes, sir. Thanks, gents. Have a great night. Cheers.
All right, cheers.